Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is Tom. So today we are going to start the first of a two-part series, and part two is not going to be tomorrow. Part two I'm going to try and do Thursday. But I saw an article on Ars Technica, which was a very good, thought-provoking article. I know I usually cover their articles lately, have been a little bit bad and clickbaity. But this one was actually quite neat, and it did get me back around to thinking about something I have wanted to talk about for a long time. And honestly, it's just a big undertaking, and that's really why I haven't gotten to it. But we're going to do a two-part series here on VPNs. So I have here a Raspberry Pi, which is like a $30 device, and part two of the video I'm going to show you how to create your own homebrewed VPN out of a Raspberry Pi. And you can actually do this on any spare computer you have laying around as well, but the reason I wanted to do it on the Raspberry Pi is because I really just, with what this does on the network and things, I really want this to be on a dedicated device. And it does not take much memory. I had a 2 gigabyte micro SD card laying around. It's like, what do you do with a 2 gigabyte micro SD card in this day and age? Well, you make a VPN out of it because really, you don't need a lot of space for it, and I don't want this computer to do anything else. So I have here a Raspberry Pi, and please excuse me for one moment. I'm actually going to plug this into my network right now, turn it on so I can access a VPN on my network. So once this is built, all I have to do is plug it into the internet and plug it into the wall. Verify it's on, and it is. And now I have a VPN running in the system. So the reason I really wanted to talk about VPNs in a two-part series here is that this is actually called, I'm going to call this something to the general effect of the truth, the lies, and the VPN. Dissecting what it is, why it is, and everything else. Because a VPN is kind of like, there's so much misinformation about what is a VPN, what is the purpose of a VPN. I just thought it merited two parts. The first part being a philosophy, which may be rambling on for about a half an hour about the goods, the bads, what's it for, what's it not for, what's the misinformation, why is there misinformation in the entire topic of VPNs, but that's really what we're going to talk about here today, and then hopefully on Thursday I will actually get to the video where we're walking through how to build it. And actually the steps that we follow on Thursday can be applied to a basic computer as well. I'm going to do it on a Raspberry Pi. So, a VPN, what is it, why is it? Well, this is such a big topic. And of course, we all hear about privacy. We hear some things about VPNs. And then a lot of the people that don't always want to research what it is, maybe you don't want to invest the time in reading the articles or whatever else, you just keep on hearing over and over that you need a VPN, you need a VPN. So eventually you just go out and you buy one. And you end up paying, $5, $10 a month for a VPN service. You download the software they tell you to download, and then you have a VPN. And then you're like, yay, now I'm protected. That's not the case. But let me show you part of the problem. Now, I pulled out here a random sampling of articles. I looked at probably about 20 of them, and I picked out just a few articles here. So we're going to show my screen here, if I can get to it. Where's my mouse? There it is. All right. So the first article I pulled out is from LifeHacker. So LifeHacker has this article, Why Should You Start Using a VPN and How to Choose the Best One for Your Needs. And here they say down here, you may know what a VPN or virtual private network is, but you probably don't use one. You really should be using a VPN, even if you don't think so now. At some point in the future, you may consider it as important as your internet connection. What is a VPN? Well, my first exposure to a VPN was as a professor for a college. And if you have any professor type connections to a college, you know that sometimes the college will give you a computer to take home and sometimes you need to provide your own. But if you plan on using that computer at the college, you have to use a VPN. So you get your computer. If you take it into the school and you plug it in, you're on the school's network. Obviously. if you take it in and you use a wireless connection. At the school, you are on the school's network, obviously. But if I happen to be at my house and I need to edit some files, maybe my grade book or whatever, and I store that grade book on my computer at the school or on my folder at the school like they tell you you're supposed to, well, I have to utilize a VPN platform to get in. What does that do? What that does is it creates a secure connection to their network. That's why it is a virtual private network. So let me explain this in hopefully somewhat simple terms as to what is a network, what is not a network, what do we need a VPN for, and why is this article crap? Well, a network obviously is a connection of computers, and a home network or an office network. So I happen to have a network here where I have multiple different computers. I have some cameras. So what I actually did in preparation for this is I went ahead and I turned on all my security cameras except for the one behind me, because these things are motion sensitive, and if I turn that thing on behind me, I'd be getting emails the whole time I'm here, and I don't want that to happen. So my cell phones are on the network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my my cameras. And coming in over here, you can see that I have 3 cameras turned on. There's 4 cameras in the office. That last one there that says loading is the one right behind me. There it is. That is not turned on, so it's going to perpetually say loading. So this phone is on my network, so I can access these cameras. Now, Internet of Things is going to be one of the biggest, and it already is one of the biggest problems for the internet, because people do not know how or have a technical know-how, and that becomes a barrier for selling some cool product like I can control my lights from my smartphone anywhere in the world. Okay, yeah, and a hacker can utilize your switch to become part of a botnet and use it to hack credit cards. Okay, and so because of that, we have this problem that the Internet of Things devices are accessible to the internet. So I use Internet of Device things that are not name brand, they're not Nest and stuff like that you really have to have a little bit higher technical expertise to know how to use them, and I do not have them accessible from the outside. So the only way to access these is if you are on my network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my phone off of the network. So now I am no longer on the network. And you'll see that I have spinniness. That's now the picture that's still there is cached. It cannot connect to the cameras. It's like it's looking, and eventually they are going to crash out. Okay, so you can see that one says, and that's the one that hasn't been plugged in because it hasn't been able to access that yet. Okay, so there's other devices in my office. I don't just have cameras. I happen to have a cloud storage device down here. So I have a NAS drive that is accessible from my network, from any of the computers that's plugged in. I've showed you that before. I have my Android phone, which is still on my network, of course. And if I happen to come over into VLC, and I can load up my local network, it can see all my list of computers, and I even have this media server down here that I can come in here and I can find whatever I want to listen to, and I can turn it on because this is accessing the network. But if I turn this phone off of the network, so if I just come over here and disable Wi-Fi, now if I load this guy up, there is no local network. Okay? So the purpose of a VPN is to get into a local network. That's the purpose of a VPN. That is the piece of misinformation that you've been fed all over. Because how do you conduct business? How do you do marketing? You get the message. It doesn't matter how truthful it is. You just get the same message over and over and over and over in front of people's eyes until they see it. All right. So you can see now that I'm not on the network. Okay. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here to Open VPN. And I'm going to connect to my VPN. And you'll see that it's sending data back and forth. And now I have my notification that we are connected. So I have my key in the upper corner. That's my notification in the galaxy that I'm connected. I'm connected onto my VPN. So now that I'm connected onto my VPN, I should be able to access my local network. Now, sometimes the Android phone, oh, the kitty just came up to say hi. All right. So the Android phone occasionally does have a problem connecting, unless I do it manually. In fact, I think that I've always had a problem connecting to the VPN, or to the internal LAN server with that, but I could connect to other things. And if I go on to do an internet search, it will show that it is my particular IP address. So the Android phone is not the best one to show you how this thing works. Let me set that down. And what we're going to do, you can see it still can't find any information there. But what we're going to do now is come back into my Geek Central. That's actually what my folder's called. I'm going to turn on my VPN. Let me make sure it's not, okay. Yep, that actually exposes my real IP address, so I don't want to do that. And then what it does is it's going to tell me up there in the corner, let me just block that off, and you'll see up there in the corner, if it focuses, that I'm connected to a VPN. So now that I'm connected to a VPN, I can come right back into my camera system, and you'll notice that now I can access my, well, there, okay, now I can access my cameras. Okay? So now the VPN allows me to access the cameras where I could not before. And of course, the iPhone VLC actually does work. If I come onto local network, now a DLAN does not work on a VPN platform. Uh-oh, and my VLC is crashing out on me. I just have too much stuff open right now. Let me do that. Just need a second to get that going. Sometimes the VLC player does not like interacting with the local network. Usually it works just fine. There it goes. Now what happens is I don't get the basic network stuff automatically for security, but I can actually come down here and manually connect to my server. So now I'm on the cell phone network, not my home network, but because I'm connected to a VPN line with my OpenVPN, I can now access any of the files on my folder or on my drive. So I can come in here. I can listen to music files. I can I can't remember if I can download stuff or not. I think it's the Android phone does not allow you to download stuff with VLC off the network. Period. There's that, and the cat is just like all over it. Okay, so let me come over here. Let me just see this. Okay, so because I'm on the VPN, it will not actually allow me to download the file for some reason. That's just a limitation, but I can actually click the song and play it. So if I am not at home, I can still access and play the files that are on my system. So there it is. Okay. So that is the purpose of the VPN. All right. It is to get in there, and it is to access my local network resources when I am not in the actual office. That is the purpose of the VPN. And before I forget, I'm going to turn off my VPN there and reconnect all my cell phones to the internet so that I can, I will not forget to do that. Did that go? Yep, that went. All right, good. Cell phones are all back on the internet now, on my local network. So also that means that if I happen to have a network printer down here, which I can actually log right on in, and I can now print. If I happen to be away, but I've just worked on a document, I want to print it out now, I can push the print button because I'm on my network. It will do that. So that is really what the purpose of a virtual private network happens to be. And I got this, look at this thing. He's just like chilling. He's like, yep, this is comfy. So I now have a kitty-shaped armrest. Yeah. All right. Back to VPNs. So what has caused this giant awareness of VPNs? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with Snowden. He's like, anonymity, and I'm a fan of anonymity. If you have followed my concern with the FCC trying to overturn rules on net neutrality and the ISP privacy rules, you'll know that I kind of am not all that keen on removing these privacy rules, which would allow my ISP to monitor more of what I'm doing. But this brings us to the second thing that a VPN will allow you to do, and that is that it will allow you to utilize the internet connection from where you are. And again, it does so securely. So if I happen to be with this computer in a coffee shop and I want to access the internet, chances are for me, if I'm using the internet in a coffee shop, I'm not doing much more than simple internet searches looking for data. And I do that frequently. But if I happen to be in a coffee shop and I'm like, oh Lord, I need to check my bank accounts. You do not want to do that over the coffee shop. So what I would do is I would come down here and I would turn on my VPN. So I already have my VPN set up here. I just go ahead and turn this guy on and it would connect to the VPN. Now, what that does is, A, I can access my internal network resources like I have said, but B, any of the internet that I'm actually using is actually coming from my home internet router, not the coffee shop where I'm at, because what happens is a secure bridge is built. So here's a basic from this hotspot shield. Here's a basic configuration. The idea is you have a in-home or a corporate type network. You have a VPN system here built up. And what you do is you create a secure tunnel that goes in between the internet connection where you are directly into the corporate server. All right. So that's essentially what you can do, but you can use it as that means. And if you are connected to a VPN, then you can utilize those resources securely. So if I happen to, and for me, I don't seriously distrust my internet service provider, okay? They're not like super amazing. I don't like super trust them, but I don't super not trust them anyway. If I didn't, I'd get a different provider. So for me, when I'm out and I have to access something securely on an internet line, like a banking information or something that's more secure, maybe if I want to access some of my business servers, I would want to use the VPN to securely connect in. But guess what? All that means is that my computer, it looks like it's connecting from my home office instead of anywhere else. So does that add a lot of privacy? Not really. But this bridges us into some more things. All right, so we've looked at this article. Here is an article from HowToGeek. Now, every now and again, you do a basic internet search and you have HowToGeek will show up. And HowToGeek is just one ginormous affiliate link site. I really don't like this site at all. So what is a VPN and why would I need one? And they tell us right here, a VPN, virtual private network, allows you to create a secure connection to another network over the internet. VPNs can be used to access region-restricted websites, shield your browsing activity from prying eyes on public Wi-Fi, and more. Okay, there's nothing about that is not true. VPNs essentially forward all your network traffic to the network, which is where the benefits like accessing local resources remotely, that's true, and bypassing internet censorship all come from. So that is also a part of it that is true. So in China, of course, they're starting to restrict the use of the VPNs. However, if for example, if you're a Netflix user, and I'm not, but if you have to be a Netflix user and you're traveling in Europe, but you have a Netflix account here, if you hook up one of these VPN networks I'm talking about, you can securely create a bridge to your home network and stream Netflix for United States in Europe, and they're different. Okay, so a VPN will allow you to get past censorship from country borders or things like that. So that is certainly a concern that you might have. Now, of course, the biggest problem with HowToGeek is they're like, connect to the VPN easy way using ExpressVPN. This is an affiliate link. So look, pay attention to the little link down here at the bottom. I can't move my mouse off this. You see this A_AID? That's advertiser ID equals HowToGeek. And data 1 is the content, and data 2, basically 2 tracking markers. This is an affiliate website, and HowToGeek is full of it. All right. Now, the funny thing is to have an affiliate link on a website, you have to have some link to it. So down at the very bottom, they have this statement here. Disclaimer. Most pages on the internet, lie. Most pages on the internet include affiliate links, including some on this site. That gets around their legal boundary. But all they're doing is they're setting up to say, you need a VPN. Here, use this one. They're just telling you stuff. So I'm not going to believe them at all. All right. So we've already looked at this. This is a good article. What I found is that a lot of these types of articles here from from kind of disinterested people. Like there's this one, here's one from Netgear. These are actually good, useful information. This is how it works. You have the basic internet, you create a secure VPN tunnel into some other network to utilize the resources on that internal LAN. That's the purpose. Obviously, utilizing the internet now comes from the internet available on that LAN. So that is what can allow you to get over some censorship things if you're in one country and you need to access the internet as you're in a different country. For me, if I needed to access internet as if I was in a different country, or if I wanted to, a more reasonable use for something I would have is, as a web developer, sometimes I might need to test how JavaScript behaves in different countries. Tor is probably a better application for that. You shouldn't be doing anything illegal on any of these things anyway, and so don't even think about it. But if you really need to be concerned about where your exit node is, a VPN is not the way to do that. Use something like Tor, where you can, where you can do that. Of course, there's VPN clients that will allow you to pick your exit country, whatever. But that's really not the intentional purpose of a VPN. And here's the reason. My router accesses user data. So if I come in and some computer comes in and attaches itself to my VPN, I can monitor everything that they do. Everything that you do on that VPN, I can monitor. It is not a privacy or protection tool. All it does is takes everything that you do and hands it to somebody else instead. So the question is, would I rather have my current ISP have that information or some other party have that information? And the danger is many people think that the VPN hides you securely, and it doesn't. It just passes all of that same information to somebody else. You don't believe me? Remember from my tinfoil hat time a couple weeks ago that SurveyMonkey, of all people, is getting into the VPN business. VPN is a FreeShield is a free VPN app for Android. The VPN allows you to use unprotected networks, prevent your mobile carrier or ISP from monitoring your traffic, and protect your passwords and credit card information and avoid advertising. Until, of course, you read the privacy policy up here, and here's what it says. Let me make this bigger. That's hard to read. So here's the type of data that includes the VPN. All, notice that bold, all outbound traffic from your mobile device, and may include the type of mobile device you use, the identity of your mobile carrier or network, the device IP address of your of other mobile device identifiers, your online activities, the amount of data you transmit, the websites you visit, and the content of your interactions with those websites, the amount and manner in which you interact with other apps on your device, the contents of your communications, the identity of individuals who communicate with you, your location, if, for example, you access location-based services, and other personally identifying information about you or other individuals contained in the VPN data. Note, that information is given to anybody who you are purchasing a VPN for. That is why you do not use a VPN for any application where you're talking about trying to be secure or private. This is SurveyMonkeys, but this would apply to everybody. That's why when I'm talking about a VPN, I'm talking about creating your own homebrewed VPN. Show the kitty. People like the kitty. You create a VPN to get into your own home network resources. So if I'm traveling away for business for a couple of weeks, I can turn on my VPN and access my music collection without having to bring a music collection with me. I can access all of the files on my computers without having to leave. You know, especially if I know what the access codes are to my computers, and I know what most of them are, I can actually get into my computers as long as I have my VPN system set up right. Okay, I can access my cameras, but not have my cameras on a public-facing port, and I can basically do all that information. Let's see if I can get him doing some cute stuff here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Kitty break. Right here. I don't know why he does not like to play with this on camera. It's like his favorite thing ever. Huh. He's not interested. Anyway, so what you're seeing here is what every VPN service can gain access to. So why are they selling this under the guise of privacy? Very simple. The VPN services desiring to sell you a privacy product, all they're doing is collecting even more data than you think. So this article was actually pretty good. This is bestvpn.com, VPNs for beginners, what you need to know. I liked this one because it actually had a lot of good information. Provides privacy by hiding your internet activity from your ISP and government. Like I said, it allows you to evade censorship. However, this is something to keep in mind because a friend of mine is, his computer was always connected to the school network, and it's like the school would block things, but basically the computer was set up in such a way that his own personal computer was perpetually connected to the school's computer, and it blocked, some YouTube videos or things that were not bad. It was just blocked. So it's like, yeah, we got to take that thing off. Allows you to geospoof. Okay, but what I liked about it is the warnings down at the bottom. How does it work? Obviously, some of these things I've debunked a little bit. The security on a public Wi-Fi is a good thing, but I just VPN directly into your home network, accessing your LAN resources. But then down here, here's some things to consider. Maybe this was not the article I was thinking. Okay, free VPN. Okay, does it make me anonymous? No. This is what some people think, is that a VPN makes you anonymous. It does not. Even those where you pay with Bitcoin or whatever else, they're not anonymous. Okay. Empty promises. While many providers promise to protect users' privacy, such promises are not worth the digital ink they are printed on if the provider keeps logs. Remember, no VPN provider staff will go to jail or ruin their business to protect a customer. If data exists, any VPN provider can be compelled to hand it over. And then trust. If you want to use VPN to gain privacy, then only a no logs provider will do. Unfortunately, when a provider claims to keep no logs, we just have to take their word for it. This is why Edward Snowden's of the world would prefer to use Tor. And that is, if you really want to try to be more anonymous, use Tor. If you have such a reason to do so. But even weigh that, do you really need to be that anonymous? And this is me, who's a big privacy advocate. Okay, I agree. Anonymity is an important thing. But there comes a point in time, I would like it if my ISP cannot use my data. I do not like that the FCC wants to overturn these rules about privacy. However, I'm not about to start connecting my life perpetually to Tor to prevent Comcast or Time Warner or any other ISP from seeing the YouTube videos that I watch or the articles that I read. But I do like the idea of keeping all that consolidated as much as you can, especially since a lot of things are going over HTTPS, and that usually means they can see the websites we're on, but not the data we're actually viewing. So there's that. Finally, coming to what actually caused me to do this now, there was an article that came out, and this looked at, they said the majority of Android VPNs can't be trusted to make users more secure. They studied like 300 apps. Actually, they looked at like 1.4 million apps. They studied, I think it was around, I thought it was close to 150 or so, and basically found that there were a lot of things like failure to encrypt data and the implementation of a lot of advertiser IDs and just a whole lot of issues. So if you actually come to the Ars Technical article and click on the research paper link there, you can actually get a copy of the research article, which I did read. And this is actually a very well done protocol. They're looking at the various types of protocols, the data, the information that's available, whether you had to pay for the VPN or if it was a free download, or if you got the free download but you had to pay for the connection. This is actually, this article, or this figure here is looking at the various permissions, looking at the permissions of the apps. Remember, look at the permissions of the apps. The OpenVPN that I'm using on both these phones, it's a, is it a free app? Yeah, it's a free app. On both of these devices, I have the app, and the only permission it needs on the Android is storage. because it needs to store the connection files. So you can see though that some of the apps use a whole lot more permissions than others. Then we looked at, let's see, the number of trackers that were embedded. So if you don't know anything about how these apps are assembled, there's advertiser and tracker libraries that you embed into the app. And this looked at the number of trackers that were embedded. And they found that 65% of the paid ones, 28% of the free ones did not actually have trackers. But some of them, up to 5 and 18% of them, actually had greater than 5 different trackers. The highest number being 12% of the premium and 25% of the free, being 3 trackers in there. So those trackers they're basically advertiser IDs. So although the app is saying this is for your security, this is for your privacy, they're still selling your data to an advertiser network. Okay. Of course, the most commonly used were Google Analytics and Google Ads. So you can read there what the figures were. Of course, here's their idea of the VPN, what it is, what it's supposed to do, and let's see, number of countries. Here's your actual protocol. So this is interesting. So they also did some virus scanning stuff. So here are the protocols. Only 14 and 20% of the apps actually had an open VPN protocol. Only 5% of the free ones had the L2TP, and 4% had SOCKS. The other ones were completely unidentified, including 10% of them had UDP-80. You know what that is? That's the basic raw unsecured HTTP connection port. 19% of the free and 10% of the premium apps were completely unencrypted. And of course, the biggest issue they didn't have a figure on was IPv6 DNS leakage, because the world is still kind of built for the 4 version, but the 6 version's out there. And I did double check the OpenVPN app that I'm using on my smartphones. It does actually look at the IPv6 protocol as well, and so it prevents DNS leakage. So let's see, here's domain ports. So you can have a look at this article. It is directly tied into the Ars Technical article. And of course, here's another article back from June, the impossible task of creating the best VPN list today. And let's see, there was a reason I wanted to pull this out. Okay, I really like the balance of this article because it really did counter a lot of the current myths. A lot of people think of VPNs for anonymity. It is not. A VPN is the initial utilization of a VPN is to create a secure server to a LAN somewhere else. That's what its purpose is. Now, it has the extra bridge since it is secure that you can use the internet connection, and so your internet-based IP will match the LAN server that you are connected to. But do not think using a VPS is for privacy at all, because the person at the other end of that can view the information you're doing. So, of course, they're saying use the Tor bundle if you are looking for anonymity. There's a few other options out there for it. They're not necessarily safe for torrenting. They do not provide any real protection from ad tracking, especially since most of your ad tracking is done with cookies on your computer. Check out my internet cookies video for more information on that. And a VPN could put you at risk. Let's see what does this say. The best use case for consumer VPN is local network security, especially on Wi-Fi, airports, hotels, cafes, etc. Okay, so that's the purpose. The purpose of the VPN is to, if you're on a coffee shop and you want to be able to access something securely, to be able to access your home network, to use your internet connection at home is a good option. Obviously, you may not have unlimited bandwidth or whatever else, so you have those considerations as well. I'm talking, of course, from somebody who lives in a fairly modern location. All right. So this article here from Ars Technica was another great article here that really identified and eliminated a lot of the fluff that's going around, because there is a lot of fluff going around about what a VPN is. So, quick recap. A VPN's primary purpose is to connect you to a LAN somewhere else. So if I am out and about, I'm traveling, or I'm at a coffee shop, I can connect my phone or any of my computers that I travel with they all have a VPN connection. So I can create the VPN at home. I can plug in the device before I leave. I can turn on my security cameras, and I can know that the only way into my house into my home network is still that the VPN that I have, the VPN server that I have. So you can't access the IP cameras from outside. So I'm not going to come back and figure out that Skynet has taken over my cameras in my house. Okay, they're not going to be hackable because you have to be on my LAN to access them. The VPN allows a bridge from the outside world into the system, but I set mine up with a lot of extra security. And so that's the purpose of the VPN, is to create the secure connection to allow you to access your network ports, your network devices, your network information on your home network. But then it will allow you the extra benefit that you can search the internet from somewhere. So if I need to do some banking stuff, really it's okay to use your phone on your cellular carrier. Is generally very secure. You could use that, or you can just connect to the VPN and use it effectively using the internet from your home, which hopefully is a little bit more secure. Now, if you're on some situation, of course, where you might be in a situation where you're sharing Wi-Fi, you might have a case where your apartment has Wi-Fi that comes with it, and it's good enough for you. If that's your user case and you don't control the data, you don't control the router, you don't control the internet connection, I would use a VPN in that case, and I would pick one of the other servers that are out there. So there are purposes for it. It's just not nearly as well needed as everyone says that it happens to be. So there is a brief philosophy on the VPN. Why would you want a VPN? What is it actually for? And on the next video that I do of this series, which I'm scheduling for Thursday, it might be Thursday, it might not be, but I'm shooting for Thursday. I'm actually going to show you how to build a OpenVPN server on a Raspberry Pi, so you can plug that in. Of course, a Raspberry Pi is a $35 computer, so even if you don't have an extra computer laying around, you can use that. You can also use another computer for a VPN server, but just the nature of what a VPN server is and how it configures in the ports, etc. I generally would definitely want a dedicated computer, and that's why I prefer the Raspberry Pi for it. You know, it's lightweight, it's cheap, it's very small power footprint. It's not like I'm running a computer with a processor fan that has to kick on every now and again. You know, and it's an easy mobile device. And then really all you need is a 2 gigabyte SD card to make it work. So we're going to walk through how to do that. Tomorrow, the 1st, I think that is. Tomorrow, the February 1st, unbelievably. February 1st, I'm going to plan on doing a distro review, and I'm not going to reveal what distro I'm going to do yet in case I have to change my mind at the last minute. I don't want to break any promises. So I hope that information was useful. I hope that it clarified a lot of what was out there regarding the VPNs. And this is Tom and the kitty saying, I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.